Okay. Hello, welcome back. We're going to continue working on our living through a natural disaster story. So far, we learned about Cyclone Tracy and the Huang He flood. In our introduction of the story, it told us it was going to be teaching us about Cyclone Tracy. Then it said it was going to teach us about the flooding. Now it says it's going to teach us about the drought in Central America. So that will be the section we're working on today. In your Google Classroom, I sent you the story so you could follow along. You'll need to use that because the last few pages you'll be doing your own work and emailing it to me on Google Docs. So today's concept is cause and effect. On your must-do may-do, I wanted you to watch the vocabulary video for cause and effect. So let's see if you watched it. Repeat after me. Cause and effect. Cause is the reason that something happens, but what comes next? We got this, Captain. The thing that happens is the effect. Cause and effect, they connect events. Yay! If you didn't watch that, please go do so to remind your brain what cause and effect means. We're going to start at the very beginning of El Nino brings drought. So El Nino is the force. It's like a wind pattern. It'll go into detail about El Nino, but think of it as a pattern of wind, and it causes some things to happen near the Central America, Australia area. As we do this, the way that really helps your brain understand how to identify cause and effect is to first figure out the effect. What happened? I already figured that out for you, so after I read the page, I will tell you the effects I wrote down, and then we figure out what caused those effects. So every single time to help my brain when I'm looking for a cause and effect in a story, I first figure out, well, what's happening? What's the effect? And then I'll go back and figure out what caused that effect. What was the reason? Okay, so here we go to the story. The people of Central America know that El Nino is a force to be reckoned with. El Nino is a pattern of winds and ocean currents that affects Earth's weather. In different parts of the world at the same time, it can trigger storms, floods, or drought, which is an unusually long period of extremely dry weather. In 1997 and 1998, El Nino produced a terrible drought in much of Central America. And it has a nice visual here for us of Central America area. Crops and farm animals died, and forest fires raged across the parched land. Remember, I always say I'm parched, I need some water. It means you're just very thirsty, you don't have water. Food and water shortages affected almost 1 million people. And the caption here says, this Guatemalan farmers' crops were destroyed by El Nino related to drought. So the illustration helps us understand what crops are. Crops are plants that people grow to make food. So now let's see some happenings on this story. The first one I heard was there's storms, flood, and drought. And I can find that in the text right here. It says in different parts of the world at the same time, it can trigger storms, floods, or drought. Well, what is the it that we were just reading about? El Nino. So El Nino is the cause of storms, flood, and drought. Then it said crops died. So crops, and you like my pig? And farm animals. So crops and farm animals died. So that's also from, I have to read back to figure out what's the cause, It said in 1997, 1998, El Nino produced a terrible drought. So it was El Nino again, but it was during the time of 1997 and 1998 El Nino. So that was the cause to the crops and the pigs dying. Then I also found the effect of forest fires were occurring. It said crops and farm animals died and forest fires raged across the parched land. So it's the same one. So here's my effects that I found in the story of what was happening. And then here were the causes. El Nino was the main cause of drought, animals dying, crops dying, forest fires raging. So El Nino seems to be something that is to be reckoned with. El Nino is a force to be reckoned with. I agree with that. So now let's go to our next page. I already found some effects. So I'm going to read the first effect that I found, and when you hear it, tell me to stop. I'll just pretend you say stop. The first one is saying prone to earthquakes and volcanoes. So when we hear that effect, what happened, let's stop and figure out the cause. The countries of Central America contain a diverse range of plants and animals. The region is home to tropical rainforests, swamps, beaches, and mountains. It is an important agricultural area, and many of its residents make a living producing coffee, sugar, and maize. Do you guys like coffee? I kind of like coffee. I love sugar. Unfortunately, the rich and varied environment of the region has suffered over the years. It lies in an unstable part of Earth and is prone to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. So, prone to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Well, what was the reason to that? What was the cause? Let's see. It said it lies in an unstable part of Earth. So I'm going to try to draw Earth. An unstable part that mainly looks like a soccer ball, but it's unstable. Wherever it is located, it's in an unstable area, and that's why the Central America is prone to earthquakes and volcanoes. Okay, so we found the cause for that effect. Now let's look at our next effect. It's going to destroy habitats. That's what's going to happen where I'm going to read. Listen for that, and let's figure out the cause to that one. It lies in an unstable part of Earth and is prone to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. It also has been hit by many hurricanes. Remember we learned about hurricanes, cyclone. Human activities have threatened Central America's environment too. Rainforest has been cut down, destroying the habitats of many animals and weakening the ability of the soil to support plants and trees. So there's the destroying habitats. It said right here in the text, destroying the habitats of many animals. That's an effect. That's what happened. They're destroying the habitats of animals. What caused that to occur? Let's reread and look. Let's see, destroy the habitats. It said human activities have threatened. See how I'm going just a little bit behind what I just read? Here's where it said habitats of many animals were destroyed. So I went back in the text a few lines to see if I could find the cause. Human activities have threatened Central America's environment too. Rainforests had been cut down, destroying the habitat of animals. So it's us humans. Oh, us humans and our decision making is not the best. And I'm going to draw, that's an axe. So chopping down the habitats by humans is the cause to then having the animals lose their habitats. Okay, the next section of an effect on these two pages will be little or no rain. Little or no rain. Hopefully it's not too dark now that the sun went a little down. The captions on this page, this one says, in October 1998, soon after the drought ended, Hurricane Mitch brought floods to Honduras and Nicaragua. So gosh, they just got over a drought of having no water at all, and then a hurricane hits and they have too much water. Then the caption here says, in Costa Rica, rainforest is being cut down or burnt to clear land for farming. So they're taking our trees away. I don't know if I'm going to make a connection to a movie from the text here of WALL-E. I don't know if you've seen WALL-E, but us humans chopped down too many trees and we had to leave Earth for the fictional movie WALL-E. Okay, remember for this effect, we're looking for little or no rain. El Nino probably has the greatest effect on Central America's ecosystem. The region needs to receive a certain quantity of water each month to maintain its crops and supply water to its people. During El Nino, remember El Nino is a wind current. Oh, hey, it gives you right here. During El Nino, which occurs about every 2 to 7 years, so how often does El Nino occur? 2 to 7 years. Central America receives little or no rain at all for several months. Oh, there's a little or no rain. That was one of the effects, and it says right here in the text, Central America receives little or no rain at all for several months. What causes the little or no rain at all? I'm going to reread by just going up a little bit and see if I can find it. During El Nino, which occurs about every 2 to 7 years, Central America receives little or no rain. So it is again El Nino. Wow, this El Nino is really messing with our way of life, taking so much away from us. Other regions are also affected by El Nino. The Philippines, Australia, and Indonesia experienced drought during the 1997 to 1998 El Nino. That was this one that caused crops to die, the animals died, forest fires. Whew. At the same time, floods occurred in Peru and Ecuador, 2 countries in South America. And they have this nice little visual down here. It says El Nino and ocean currents. So El Nino even affects ocean currents. So here's normal conditions. This is how it should normally look. This purple one, how it should normally look. Normally, most of the time, westerly winds produce ocean currents that carry cool surface water away from South America toward Australia. This effect brings heavy rainfall to Southeast Asia, while cold ocean water rise up along the coast of South America. So that's what a normal condition is. Then here's El Nino. Remember, you can follow along with the pictures on Google Classroom. So here's El Nino. When El Nino happens, instead of cold currents leaving South America and going towards Australia, we've got warm currents. So El Nino conditions, during El Nino, the westerly winds die down and change direction. Surface currents are reserved. They now carry warm ocean water in an easterly direction across the Pacific Ocean. This change has a dramatic effect on rainfall patterns worldwide. So here's Australia, and instead of the cold current going towards Australia, there's warm currents coming from Australia towards South America. And that's how El Nino happens and occurs and causes all this drought. Up here, the caption says, the El Nino of 1997 to 1998 brought heavy rain to Peru. So not only drought, but flooding, basically change in normal, typical weather is what El Nino brings to these areas down here. If you usually don't have flooding, you're gonna get flooding. If you normally have a lot of water, you're gonna get a drought. So it does kind of the opposite reach. Okay, let's go back to our cause and effect. Remember, cause is the reason that something happens, but what comes next? We got this, Captain. The thing that happens is the effect. Cause and effect connect events. So remember, when you're looking in a story to identify cause and effect like we're doing right now, think of what happened. What is the effect first? And then go back and find the cause for it. So let's go to the next page of an unexpected El Nino. And this dude over here is a meteorologist studying data about Earth's atmosphere to learn about the weather. So we saw a meteorologist in our other book, Weather. Now we see the meteorologist in this book. In May 1997, the waters in the Pacific Ocean had already warmed up by 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit in places. So the water's getting hotter. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. Meteorologist knows that it's El Nino will be the first thing we're listening for. That the meteorologist knows El Nino is coming. So in May 1997, the waters in the Pacific Ocean had already warmed up by 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit in places. Also, storm systems normally found over Indonesia were moving east. Both of these changes were significant clues for meteorologists A new El Nino was beginning. So the effect is the meteorologist knows there's a new El Nino coming. How does he know it? What's the cause? What's the reasoning to it? So the cause, remember I go back and reread, so I found in the text the effect was both of these changes were significant clues for meteorologists to know a new El Nino was beginning. So I just go back a little bit and see if I find a cause. Also, storm systems normally found over Indonesia were moving east. Oh yeah, so storms, compass, north, south, east, west. So storms usually going west, we're now going east. They're not going west anymore, they're going east. There was something else too. Oh yeah, but the weather warmed up. The ocean had already warmed up by 3.6 degrees. So with the weather changing and the heat increasing, the meteorologist knew El Nino was coming. Okay, the next one we're looking for is second warmest year ever. Second warmest year ever. In most cases, meteorologists are able to predict El Nino up to a year in advance. Oh, that's cool. However, the scientists didn't realize the 1997 El Nino was underway until 6 months before the warm weather arrived off the coast of South America. David Parker, an El Nino tracker at England's meteorological office, predicted that the 1997 El Nino would have devastating effects. He was correct. This is what he said. The consequences of El Nino will probably be felt worldwide over the coming year. So far, 1997 is already the second warmest year ever. So, we could see a new record. Second warmest year ever. Okay, so that's our effect. It's the second warmest year ever. The meteorologist said the consequences of El Nino will probably be felt worldwide. And he said so far, the year 1997 was the warmest year, second warmest year on record. So in this scenario, we just know that the cause was the current year in general, and he's saying El Nino will probably make it even hotter. So we just know that the cause is something about that year. That's kind of a confusing cause for us. I wish they would have told us more to why that year is hotter. It's not El Nino in this scenario, it was just already the second hottest year. So our cause is almost, and I don't know. I need to look more into that. And that's okay. Sometimes books don't fully explain the effect. And then we can do some more research. So if you guys ever want to go look and see why 1997 was really hot in England, cool. Please let me know. And down here is a studying El Nino. This satellite, that's cool, it's a satellite photograph, shows the warm El Nino current in the Pacific in June 1997. Meteorologists use images like this to help them understand El Nino. Although they know when an El Nino weather pattern is starting to happen, they still do not know why ocean currents change direction. Because that is crazy that an ocean current could change total direction. And then it has a nice little diagram here labeling Australia, the Pacific Ocean, Central America, and the warm El Nino current, which is that really bright one there. Now for our next one, my first effect that I found that happened in the book is that the road is going to buckle. And when a road buckles, let's pretend here's a road you're driving on. When it buckles, that just means it kind of caves in a bit. It's being destroyed. So here's devastation. Makes sense for a road to buckle on a devastation page. For many months at the end of 1997 and the beginning of 1998, much of Central America was devastated by drought. Crops withered under the hot, dry conditions, and the intense heat caused roads to buckle. So there's the roads to buckle, and what's really nice on this page is it even has the word caused. So I don't have to look that hard. It says right here, the intense heat caused roads to buckle. So intense heat. Hot, hot, hot. I'm going to put the sun there. The intense heat caused the roads to buckle. That was the effect of the heat, was the roads buckling. Now the next one are people dying, and crops dying. Ugh. Rivers and lakes dried up, and the water levels in reservoirs steadily dropped. Some people died from starvation during the drought, and many died from the heat. So there's our people dying, but it doesn't say crops dying, did it? Oh. Both rural and urban areas were affected. Farmers watched their crops fail, and together with the city dwellers, they suffered food and water shortages. And here the caption says, a farmer in Honduras surveys his withered maize crop. So the crop is dying, it's withering away. Okay, so what's causing all these people to die and the crops die? Well, it's El Nino, the heat from El Nino. All this heat from El Nino is causing rosebuckle people to die, crops to die. And what is drought? So now finally, you guys will remind your brains what drought is. So what is drought? A drought is an extended shortage of rainfall that is unusual for an area. It is considered to be a temporary condition, even though it can last for months or even years. Ugh, to not have water for years, that would be hard. Regions that have very low yearly rainfall are considered to be arid or dry. And our state has a lot of rainfall, so we're pretty good on the drought scenario. Okay, so remember, find the effects first and then figure out the cause. We'll do one more together, and then I'll just read the last few pages, and you will be sending me a Google Docs for 3 cause and effects that you find. Okay, so here's the last one we'll do together, and then you will do them on your own. The dry, and we're looking up for what's causing the wildfire here. Oh. The dry weather shriveled trees and other plants, creating conditions perfect for wildfires. And we know that this dry weather is coming from El Nino, but the biggest reason were the trees are shriveling up. That means they're kind of shrinking, the leaves are kind of dying or getting really sucked in because they don't have any water. No water, so they're shriveling. So thirsty. Yeah, okay. As forests burned, animal habitats were destroyed. So there's another effect. Animal habitats are being destroyed. That's another effect from the El Nino and water going away and these fires. Many people who worked gathering and selling forest products lost their jobs. Wow, there's another effect. The El Nino is causing people to lose jobs. And it's just a force of nature. Smoke gathering and smoke from fires made breathing difficult for people and animals. For months, the skies were polluted by a gray haze of smoke that caused health problems and poor visibility. So the smoke, there's another cause. The smoke caused the effect of people to have health problems and poor visibility. So there's another cause and effect. There's so many more cause and effects than what I have on the board. You could find so many, almost one cause to an effect, then makes another cause and effect. For example, there was the wildfire. So the trees thriveling up caused a wildfire. Then you can say the wildfire then caused animals' habitats to be destroyed and people to lose their jobs. So a lot of the time, an effect will then become a cause, just like in the vocabulary video you guys watched. Okay, for the last few pages, make sure you open up the Google Docs. I'm not going to show you the pictures. I want you to read along with me. Pause my video when you hear an effect and type it in on Google Docs, and then rewind my video a little bit to reread with me and find the cause to that effect. Remember, cause will come before the effect. So find the effect in the story first, then go earlier in the story to figure out the reason that caused it. So this next part I'm just going to read to you. If you don't want me to read to you, you can stop the video now, go open those pictures. It will be Coping with the Disaster and Central America Today. You'll read those 2 pages and complete the task of sending me a Google Docs, don't forget to send it to me, of 3 cause and effects that you find throughout these pages. Thanks, guys. Okay. Okay, if you're sticking around for me to read it to you, here's me reading it. Coping with the disaster. Most countries in Central America were not prepared for the devastating effects of the drought. As harvests failed, people began to starve. Some countries were helped by international aid agencies. Emergency food supplies were shipped to the worst areas. The longer the drought continued, however, the more severe the disaster became. Other countries, such as Costa Rica, did not request international help. Costa Rica's government limited the effects of the disaster by acting immediately at the beginning of the drought. First, it declared a state of emergency, which we just declared a few ago for the coronavirus. First, it declared a state of emergency, which gave the government more power to control resources, such as water and transportation. The government rationed water, limiting the amount that people could use, that's what rationing means, so that no water was wasted. They built wells around the country to gain access to more underground water. The government also organized a national fire prevention campaign. Throughout the crisis, the government kept Costa Ricans informed about El Niño and its effects. And then for the caption on the top of the page, it says, in Guatemala and other countries in Central America, emergency food supplies were handed out. And then the bottom page, in some countries in Central America, including Costa Rica, cattle were herded away from the driest areas. So remember, pause my video anytime, write down an effect, and then figure out the cause to it. I'll read the last page. Central America today. Costa Rica's programs worked. By May 1998, the country had survived the crisis. They had created a plan to ensure that people would have food and water throughout the drought and to limit damage to livestock and crops. They would know what to do when El Niño and drought returned. In recent years, drought has returned to Central America frequently, and each time, emergency aid programs have been put in place. However, in a region that is constantly battered by hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, and drought, long-term planning is needed to help the people and their land survive. Costa Rica's handling of the 1997-1998 drought serves as a model to other countries in Central America facing natural disasters. And the caption on the bottom says, the beaches of Costa Rica attract tourism, bringing much needed money into the country. Again, from those last 2 pages, find an effect and then go back and find the cause to that effect and send me a Google Doc showing 3 different cause and effects that you found from those 2 pages. Thanks, guys.